Canada's premiers have been meeting in Muskoka, Ontario's cottage country. Prime Minister Mark Carney even joining them for a bit. Hi, I'm Brian Lilley, political columnist with the Toronto Sun. Did the meetings accomplish anything? What were they all about? Did they knock down internal trade barriers? Did they talk about ways to carve a deal with Donald Trump? And why did they have to meet in person at a swanky Muskoka resort, as some people were calling it? Had a chance to sit down and talk with Ontario Premier Doug Ford about these issues and why he is being so generous with a Liberal Prime Minister at the moment when he wasn't quite so generous with the previous Liberal Prime Minister. Here's our conversation. So, Premier Ford, you've wrapped up the meeting. Tell me how you feel at the end of it. You had all the premiers together. You also had the Prime Minister for, I guess, the morning on Tuesday, or on Monday. How are you feeling about all of this?
Well, I'm always feeling really positive. All the premiers are getting along very, very well, working together. We were very united like I've never seen before. Had a great conversation with the Prime Minister while he was here as well, which has never happened before.
A great conversation, or hanging out around the campfire until the wee hours? Like, what are
Well,
you
that's where you
doing
get
here?
the
I mean,
that's where you
you
get the
can
work
imagine
done.
the memes about you and Mark Carney and the PJs by the fire, but I understand it wasn't that. But what are you
No,
guys doing out by the fire until? What'd you
well,
say? 12:30?
yeah, somewhere around there. But that's where you get the work done. You have heart-to-heart conversations, one-on-one, and I have a lot of respect for Prime Minister Carney. Very bright individual, a very smart business person. We share the same values. We have to run the government like a business, and we're going to get things done, no matter if it's bail reform or dealing with President Trump on the trade deal. So we're confident. I'm more confident in Prime Minister Carney than I was with the last Prime Minister, obviously, and a lot more confident with Prime Minister Carney dealing with President Trump.
So, look, you hear it, as do I, that there are a lot of people that are upset that you're having a good relationship with Prime Minister Carney, that you are saying nice things about him. You cost Pierre Poilievre the election. Look, I don't buy that.
Yeah.
And I've said that to federal conservatives. There were other issues there. But for conservatives who are saying, why are you so friendly to Mark Carney? Can you explain this? Because, I was up in Huntsville for a little bit, and I've talked to people and they say, well, the guy shows up on time, he's prepared, he knows what he's talking about.
Right.
That is a vast departure from the last guy who would show up late,
Yeah.
wasn't prepared, didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
It's not just
Oh,
you. It's Scott Moe, it's Danielle Smith
that's right.
are saying to me in private, just as they say in public, okay, yeah, we're willing to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. Explain why you and so many other premiers are willing to give Mark Carney a bit of lead here.
Well, first of all, whoever said I shouldn't be getting along with him, very short-sighted. I've always said, Brian, that I don't care about political stripes. I care about the people, moving the economy forward. And he's a very honest, very humble man. But the background is second to none, his resume. He was a Goldman Sachs guy. He was a chair of Brookfield, a $1 trillion fund, chair of Bloomberg, governor of Bank of Canada, governor of Bank of England. He understands. He understands business. He understands how to get things moving. And he understands to make sure that he runs a federal government a lot leaner than it was before. So I have a lot of respect for him, but let's see how we move forward. And he's a great personality. That's why everyone can sit down with him and get along with him. It doesn't matter what political stripe. I get along with Olivia Chow, that's NDP. I don't agree with her on everything, but I still get along with her. Let me tell you, people expect, after an election, not only expect, they demand that you work hand in hand with the municipal, provincial, and federal governments. That's how we get things done, and that's what we're doing right now.
And I get that, and I hear that from a lot of people, but there are some who say, well, you should be harder on them. You're not, true conservative. Just give me a quick answer on that. I don't want to dwell on that, but give me a quick answer on for those people who say, you should just only be blue and only deal with people who are blue.
Oh, well, what definition of blue? There's many shades of blue. Meanwhile, there's probably some right-wing radicals that I don't agree with are probably saying that, but I'll tell you, the majority of the people that voted, well, 35% of the people voted for me, voted for Mark Carney. And I'll again work with anyone. You look around the table, we have two NDP premiers, which I think the world of. David Eby out in BC and Wab Kinew. Even though I joke with Wab that he sounds like a conservative, he's politically misguided, and I'll give him counseling. But I love the guy. He's absolutely incredible. Then we have liberals, we have conservatives, right across the board, and we all get along. We all walk out of the room united. Sure, we have some differences. It's a big country, but we come together and we're united like I've never seen before. But I've never seen the country this united across the board. So I'm looking forward to continue
was a
working.
rock star. You know, he came to
He's
Huntsville. He
amazing.
came to your backyard. You know,
Yeah,
your cottage is what, like 25
yeah,
minutes away from where this event happened. He
yeah.
came to your backyard and he was the rock star
I
of the
love it.
event.
Well, I
That
think
was amazing for me to watch.
yeah, well, I think the world of him. And again, he comes up, and first thing out of his own, we got to spend more on NATO, on defense. And then he comes out, and I've been saying it for ages about NATO and bail reform, but he's hard on bail reform. I'm just tired of political stripes. Everyone wants to paint one person as a political stripe or another political stripe. Yeah, I'm a prudent fiscal manager because the foundation of our healthcare system, our education system, infrastructure, and our economy is our economy. Without a strong economy, we don't have a strong healthcare system. We don't have a strong education system. So our main focus should always be the economy. That pays for everything else.
So I want to ask you about this. You know, a lot of people saying, you know, because there were some erroneous reports that, you know, Mark Carney had called this and it was a resort that was, you know, five-star lap of luxury.
Who
I mean,
comes up
you
with
know,
this stuff?
that is
You
not
know,
accurate, but people saying, well, this meeting could have happened over Zoom. I want to hear from you about the importance of in-person meetings. I was talking about this with
so
Jerry Agar on 1010 the other day. Like you and Scott Moe, I've heard the story from
yeah,
one of your former staffers. He left years ago, but he told me about you and Scott Moe meeting at the first Council of the Federation meeting that you went to at St. Andrew by the Sea,
that's right. I
standing
remember.
around the campfire, just connecting. And my understanding is a bunch of you guys all connected around the campfire at your cottage.
It's all about relationships. Business is about relationships. Work is about relationships, and nothing's better than looking someone square in the eyes and reading them. I don't believe in all, you know, over Skype and this and that and everything else. I believe in
But does
connecting
it
with
give you
someone.
a better connection in terms of being able to
Absolutely, it
be
does.
honest with each other?
100% it does. You sit down, you have a good conversation, very honest conversation, and has nothing to do with any fancy resort. You know, Mark Carney, if I said we're popping a tent in the backyard, he says, not a problem. Well, I'll be sleeping in the tent. He's a humble man and very smart individual, too, very smart business person.
I keep saying to people who are critical of you for being too close to him, I said, well, you know, I've known Scott Moe and Danielle Smith a long time. They say the
Yeah,
same things.
yeah,
Um, but the one thing that I did hear is up at Huntsville is, okay, eventually there's got to be delivery. And I heard that from
that's right.
liberals.
No,
So
I agree
when,
with that.
when are you going to start seeing deliverables in
Yeah.
terms of, you know, nation building projects, things like that?
Mhm.
Because nice words are great. We can all say nice words, but when do you need to see the deliverables?
Well, Prime Minister Carney said the exact same thing. Enough of the talking, and the same with the First Nations community. There's one common voice that I'm hearing across the country, either First Nations business, provincial, municipal, and federal government. Stop the talking, let's start moving. And that's what we're going to do. So we're all going to work together. We're going to move as quickly as possible, cut down the regulatory burden that holds all of us back, and start moving on these large infrastructure projects and everything else. We're up against it with President Trump, and we have a strong country with great people, the smartest people in the world, and we don't have to take a back seat to anyone, especially Donald Trump.
So you mentioned First Nations groups. This week in Huntsville, you did mention that, you know, you won't go forward if First Nations groups are not on board with projects. But, you know, something like the Ring of Fire, which, you know, I've heard you talk about for what is it, 7 years now. I
Yeah,
heard Kathleen Wynne talk about it. I heard Dalton McGuinty talk
yeah,
about it. I heard Ernie Eves talk about the Ring of Fire going back
yeah,
more than 20 years. I mean, this, people have been talking about it
yeah.
forever. Little has been done. You have got an indigenous-led environmental assessment going on. Two of the three groups that are up and around the Ring of Fire are on board with it. The two closest to what needs to be done in terms of the roadway and mining development are on board, but one of the groups that's further away is opposed to it. So how do you deal with that? Do you just say, well,
Well,
they're opposed to it, so we won't go forward? Because if you
no,
did that
not at all.
in any other
Yeah,
segment of the community, I
yeah.
mean, if I opposed a road, then there'd be no road next to my house.
Well, I'll tell you, we've come a long way, a lot further than anyone's ever gone with Arrowland First Nations. We're building that road, the first 80 kilometers. We signed a deal with them. We signed a deal with Webber Martin Falls. It's never been done. So we've actually done quite a bit. I want to keep moving forward, and we're going to keep getting that road built. We're going to get it built up to the Ring of Fire, and everyone's going to prosper. The First Nations communities are going to prosper. We put $3 billion in the window for equity partnership. We have $70 million of training that they can draw off, $10 million of scholarships. But I'll tell you one thing, we have 133 First Nations, and yeah, there's 9 of them probably taking us to court. I can assure you, as they see all their communities around them start prospering, the people that live there are going to want to prosper too. So we look forward to working with our First Nations and being collaborative, and we're going to get it done. Because I've had more calls from chiefs saying, I want to be part of this economic zone. I don't want to be left out. And we've built up a great relationship. I had the National Grand Chief show up here, and that usually never happens. And then I had some of the regional chiefs show up here, built up an excellent relationship, and they want prosperity in their communities. They want a better life for their kids and their grandchildren than what they had, and we're going to provide that.
So that's part of the growing Canada's economy inside. To go
Yeah,
back to the idea of trying to strike a deal with Donald Trump, I have
yeah,
two questions, and I put this out in a column the other day, and
sure.
um, you know, at first it seemed like, and Prime Minister Carney was talking about that it doesn't appear that there's a possibility of a deal without tariffs. Then the Americans said, "Oh, there is if you open up enough." So, uh, what is enough? What are they asking for? What is the price? So, is a deal possible without tariffs? And if so, what's the price?
Well, look at it this way. They just signed that so-called big deal with Japan, $500 billion. Well, let's put it in perspective, Brian. Japan buys $79 billion of products off the U.S. We buy $359 billion of products. We're over 400% larger when it comes to buying products off the U.S. So we're their largest customer. Donald Trump needs to start respecting his largest customer. Ontario alone, 9 million people wake up every morning to produce a widget or a product or a service for Ontarians. What we're going to do, we're starting to onshore absolutely everything we possibly can. We have to stop relying on the American market and being self-reliant and start shipping our products out around the world rather than just down to the U.S. And it's no disrespect to the American people. There's one person I have an issue with, and that's Donald Trump.
But I've been hearing this for 20 years. 2005, talking to a former Liberal cabinet minister, now passed on, Jim Peterson, about a trade deal with South Korea. Our trade with South Korea has not increased, even though the Liberals started it. Stephen Harper finished it. Stephen Harper signed a bunch of trade deals. Like we have 51 different free trade
Different free
agreements,
trade agreements.
and
That's right.
almost all of our exports still go to 75% still go to the U.S. So, can we really diversify our way out of this?
Absolutely. We've signed multi-billion-dollar deals with companies from South Korea. We've signed multi-billion-dollar deals with companies in Germany and everywhere else around the world. So we're going to continue creating the climate and the conditions for companies to come here and invest, to cut down the regulatory burden, to make sure that they have low taxes and putting money back into their pockets so they can reinvest into their infrastructure, into technology, into their their people. That's what we're going to do. I'll give you an example. The direct foreign investment last year, just came out the numbers, 2024. 409 companies came to invest in Ontario. They invested $40 billion here and created 25,000 jobs. So we're going to continue selling Ontario around the world and attracting more businesses. But Brian, I want to thank you for the interview. I look forward to getting together soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Premier. All right. So a couple of things that I didn't have a chance to get to with Premier Ford before he had to go. Questions about why he was talking about increasing immigration numbers and giving out work permits to asylum seekers when the unemployment rate is so high in Ontario. And why are he and Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe talking about getting closer to China when the Americans are clearly so against that idea? We'll have to explore that in the future. But in the meantime, drop us a comment down below. Let us know what you think of the interview, what Ford had to say, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.